I quit handcrafting way too early. If you have your own product brand and want to get into manufacturing, this right here is the channel for you. To avoid the pitfalls that I went through and to save yourself thousands of hours of frustration, go ahead and click that subscribe button below. Now, I was excited to grow, but growth came with lessons. If I had the opportunity to do this all over again, I would do it differently, and this is exactly what I would do. Now, for those who do not know me, my name is Giovanna Robinson. I have been in business since about 2012. Now, I have a degree in fashion design, and I started making leather bags. I enjoyed making leather bags and working with my hands, and I have made thousands upon thousands of bags over the years. However, I got tired of making the bags. I got tired of trying to meet the demand. I got tired of being a one-woman show and only able to work with these hands to make the bag. I was limiting myself by doing that. I wanted to be able to produce on a larger scale. I wanted to be able to meet the demand and meet a larger audience all at once. I didn't want my customers to have to wait 6 and 8 weeks for a bag to be complete anymore. So what was the answer? The answer was to finally go into production, which is what I really wanted to do at the beginning. But because I didn't have capital or a rich auntie or a trust fund left to me by anybody in my family, I had to start small, and I had to do some bootstrapping and do it all myself from the beginning. So when I decided to go into making the bags for myself, I was happy, for one, to relieve myself of making the bags. I was happy to be able to produce on a larger scale. I was happy that I was not going to be behind the sewing machine anymore, and I would be able to focus on other aspects of my business, the marketing side, the management side of business, and building the brand. This was exciting because that meant that I am moving into a new era of my business, and it felt like, oh, I'm growing, the brand is expanding, the brand is becoming something bigger and something better. But what I didn't fully realize is that when I stopped making the bags, I stopped giving people a reason to check in. I stopped giving people something to look forward to. And they weren't able to stay connected to the brand in the same way anymore. The reason being, in 2024, I started the process of looking for a manufacturer. I was looking for one that was able to produce bags in the way that I wanted them to be able to be produced and to have the same look. I wanted a manufacturer that was based in the United States. That was very, very important to me. There were certain aspects that I wanted, and if you want to see more about that, you could go to, I believe it's video number 1, and see how I went about finding the right manufacturer. Now, in that, I was so excited to stop making bags that I stopped prematurely. So here's the thing. In 2025, I decided which manufacturer I was going to go with. So at that point, it was about figuring out the sample they were going to make, giving them the sample, having them make my first sample, go through that process. So as I'm going through that process in the beginning of 2025, making sure that I have the funds and the money to give them, because samples are not cheap. I talk about that in a previous video as well. So even trying to get them and do the sample to make sure the sample is correct and everything, once I got that sample and I knew that sample was being made, I was like, I'm done. I'm retired. These hands are finished with making bags. All the bags that I had in my inventory that I had made, I did a this is it. This is the last one. Get these bags. This is all that you are going to get that are made with these hands. From now on, all of my bags are going to be manufactured moving forward. So I did that in about June, July of 2025. Now, the sample bag was being made. My plan was, after the sample bag gets made, I do a month of pre-orders, and then we get to getting the bag into production and everything by the top of fall. And then the bags will be done and ready to be sold in holiday season of 2025. None of that happened. And because I had stopped making bags, in my mind, I was retired. I didn't want to go back to the sewing machine. To be honest, I was about to pack that whole industrial machine up and find somewhere to store it, right? But I stopped way too early because there was so much going on, but there was not much engagement with my audience. There was nothing new for them to look forward to. And it was like, what is she doing? I had people DM and say like, hey, Are you not making bags anymore? I miss you. I miss your content. I miss what you're doing. I miss seeing the beautiful bags. Like, what's going on? Because it's not just about product production. It's about visibility. It's about audience connect. It's about consistency, staying top of mind, and trusting in the process. When I was making bags by hand, I always had something to show. I had behind the scenes. I had the process of making bags. I had behind the scenes content. I had product process. I had product progress. I had a rhythm that people can follow. My audience can see me working, creating, shipping, and fulfilling. Then once I stopped, the business got quieter. The audience had nothing to look forward to. The content got quieter. There was nothing that people could connect with. And the momentum slowed down. I thought I was retiring my hand, but I didn't realize that I was also retiring a big part of the content and the connection that kept my brand alive online. I thought manufacturing was going to move a lot faster than it is. And since it didn't, it created a long in-between season. Not fully handcrafted anymore, but not fully produced all the way either. And this in-between season is something that a lot of people don't talk about. I didn't account for how hard it would be to market a business right in the middle of things. I'm not handcrafting anymore, and at the same time, it's not being produced. The old way has ended, and the new way hasn't fully arrived yet. If I could do it all over again, I would have continued to make bags through the process until the bags were in production and they would be getting shipped to me. I would have continued to make bags instead of trying to retire my hands so quick. That way, it wouldn't have been as long as a gap between what people knew me for and what I was asking them to support me in the next era of Tony Becca. Now, the other thing, number 2, that I would do differently is I would have probably saved up more money of my own before going into manufacturing and production. Now, of course, if I would have continued making the bags, I would have had more money. But instead of expecting that all of the production be paid for through pre-orders, I would have wanted to have at least maybe half of the money that I needed for production, or close to half of the money that I needed for production before going into pre-orders, or while I'm even asking for the pre-orders, instead of expecting the pre-orders to pay for all of the production costs. Because then you're waiting for people to come along, you're waiting for people to buy, you're waiting to see if you're gonna sell enough, and it just made the wait a lot longer if I wouldn't have first quit sewing the bags by hand. Pre-orders can be helpful, but they can be risky if they carry too much of the burden. This is the reason. Pressure feels heavier. The timeline feels a lot more stressful. Audience can feel that uncertainty. And then you're depending on customer trust before they can experience the product fully on their own. Now, I believe that the pre-orders would be great because I've always been resourceful myself. But the thing is, I would have felt more confident going into this if I would have saved a lot more of the cost on my own and not had to rely heavily on the pre-order. The reason why: it would lower pressure, it would give breathing room, it would allow me to market from excitement and not urgency. It would definitely make the delays less scary. And the launch would feel so much more stable. A lot of small business owners think I'll launch it and the sales will fund it. But here's the thing, and this is one thing that I really didn't consider at the beginning, was the cost of the bag. I knew that going forward, for me making the bags and producing everything myself, that the cost that I was charging for my bags was going to increase when I go into manufacturing, because I have to cover their labor and their shipping and all of these things. But I didn't account for the difference in the amount of difference that it was going to be. So not only am I asking my customer base to go ahead and pre-order this brand new bag, but I'm asking them to pre-order a brand new bag that is hundreds of dollars more than what they were used to paying. Now, bootstrapping built my business, but manufacturing demanded a level of financial preparation that I truly underestimated. So this is what I would recommend now. Save as much as possible before launch. Aim for at least 30 to 50% if possible. Treat your pre-orders as support, not your entire survival plan. And definitely leave room for surprises, because there will be some. And number 3, I would have definitely had sampled all the colors. So I'm going to be dropping about 4 or 5 colors in this first production run with the 30 bags that are coming. However, I only had 1 sample bag made in what I would call is the featured color, right? Which is this beautiful teal color. I'm like, she's the one that's gonna come in and steal the show. But the fact of the matter is that most people are not gonna go for a bold or not a classic color. A lot of people aren't gonna understand like, well, how can I style this? How can I fit this into the wardrobe I already have? Ooh, that's a fun color, but do I wanna pay that much for a fun color? And I don't know if I can tie it into most of my wardrobe. So really what I would have loved to have done from the beginning is had enough money to not just make the one sample, but make all the colors in the sample first. So then people can see all of the ones that are going to be available, and they can go ahead and purchase or pre-order that bag in whatever color they wanted. I can have all of the colors available for them to pre-order the bags. Now, once I got into it and I thought about this, and I was like, I don't have the money to put into the adding more sample bags to the collection, but instead I wanted all that money to go into the production. So I was like, okay, what would be a resourceful way to figure out this problem? Fiverr. So I hired someone on Fiverr to go in and take all the product shots that I had from the teal bag and change the color so that I can put that on the website and then offer that. Now at the time, I was gonna offer 2 pops of colors. One was the teal and one was the red. That paid for them to do the red bag. And then I was consulting with people, I was talking to people, and it was like, red is a really hard bag to sell. I didn't wanna be stuck with like 10 red bags and only sell like 2 or 3 of them. So I was like, maybe I should take this color out of the equation. That, my friends, was a waste of money at that point, because I done paid somebody to go in and Photoshop or whatever they did to make this red bag, and it was so beautiful. It was like a cherry red, and I'm like, oh, that would go with everything. Like today, I have on this all denim fit and got compliments when I was out, and I'm like, this would have been a pop of color for that. Even if you had like a beautiful floral piece on that had red in it, that was great to go in the summer. And it wasn't like a red that's only available or that you should only rock in the fall and in the winter, but it was a great red that would go all year round. I think about these things. Now, one color may show the quality in the concept, but multiple colors help people imagine themselves in the bag. That's the difference. People often buy when they can see themselves in the product. One sample proved the bag was real. Multiple colors would have made the offer feel a lot more fuller. It would have definitely helped different people's taste connect, and it would have expanded who would feel seen in the launch. Now, one color told the story of the bag, but multiple colors would have told the story of the actual client and customer. So as I explained earlier, some women love neutrals, some love a bold statement piece and a pop of color, but everyone needs to be able to visualize the bag in their closet and see it working with their current wardrobe. Some people don't buy the bag not because they don't like it, but they don't buy because they can't picture their version of it yet. That's why color options matter, especially in fashion. Now, some other ways that showing options may have helped would have been pre-order excitement, shares and save, comments and feedback, building anticipation, and helping people choose earlier. So even if they didn't buy right away, they have something to look forward to once the product actually drops. And they're already like, oh, I'm setting that money aside so I can get that bag when it drops. If I could do it all over again, I would have invested earlier in helping customers see choice, not just the bag and the product. Now, of course, this is for those who already have a brand established, who are maybe handcrafting and they want to scale bigger. They want to offer more products, or they want to go from designing and making their own clothes or bags or whatever it is and start having someone else make their designs. Now, if this is you, these are some of the things to consider and to think about that I didn't think about beforehand. I just knew what I wanted and I knew how I wanted it to go. And I thought that it was going to go according to plan. But whatever goes according to plan, does anything ever go according to plan? So I made the mistake so you don't have to. And I want to help you not make the same mistakes that I made. So instead of quitting early and being ready to retire and say, listen, I want to move on to bigger and better things, keep doing those things until you actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't stop prematurely, but keep making until you have even the product in hand. And then you're like, okay, no more. This is it. This is the last of it. Let's sell all this inventory and make room for all the new that is coming in. And like I said, it's never good to put all your eggs in one basket. To put all your eggs into the pre-orders and expecting the pre-orders to carry the brunt of the manufacturing costs is just not likely. Now, I did have some other money that I did use for it, but yet and still, to expect the brunt of it or even more than 50% of it to come from the pre-orders, you just want to make sure that you always have a backup plan, especially when it comes to the money. And again, number 3, don't ever just hold back, but let people see all of the options that they have before them, because everybody is not going to be sold on that one color. And even if you're like, oh, well, I only need 5 people, or I only need 10 people to buy this bag and this will come. But a lot of people are going to want to see neutral colors. They're going to want to see the classic colors, the things that they can easily put into their wardrobe. And especially when you have something at this high of a price point, people are going to want to go with a color that is in their mind. It's like, oh, I could do a black bag and that will last forever. Will a teal bag? It will. But for the average person to see that and to know that, it's not likely. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like this video and share it, and also hit that subscribe button. I'll talk to you soon.